You can either take the red pill. You'll wake up. Everything was a dream. Or you can take the black pill. You can get torched.
Well, I suppose getting torched won't hurt that much. I don't feel anything.
Wait for it.
Oh, wait. I just got a new client. Get torched! Get torched! Get torched!
I'm Wayne Carey, and this is The Truth Hurts.
Well, we're back for another episode of The Truth Hurts, Duck. Good to see you again.
Good to see you too, and in actual fact, I can hardly see you. You were losing weight at a rapid rate.
It's surprising, very disappointing though.
It's the first time I've mentioned this, because I've noticed today when you walked in, you look skinnier.
Oh, well, thank you. I appreciate that. Unfortunately, though, the Yarraville Twos, their season is over. That's what's got me back on board the fitness train. But
and I noticed. I know you've got the hat on, but you took the feathers off because it was a bit wispy.
Oh, look, I haven't shaved it. I probably should shave it. I did have a few comments on the weekend in footy. I get this problem where if I run into the wind, it just kind of sits up a little bit. So you got to keep it short.
I can't talk, but I love talking about people with wispy hair because I'm there. Mine's not fantastic, but I love people that wear. You're not going to ever get a possum, are you?
No, I won't. No. I've done all that. But
have we done a segment on possums?
No, I haven't done possums. I've done the tablets.
Yeah, I know. But have we done a segment? Have we done a Truth Hurts about people we know that are wearing a possum on their head?
No, I don't think we have.
Because the great late Shane Warne had a possum on his head.
You don't think it was his head?
And a lot of people, of course, he had a little possum, a little hairpiece that he stuck on there. A lot of people don't know that, but he did.
Yeah, okay.
And when he did the jungle, part of his deal was that he was allowed to go and, make sure the possum was, stuck on properly and all of that.
Yes, there's a lot to think about when because your hair starts growing back underneath it. You got to get it reattached.
I don't know.
I've had mates who've had this done.
I'm going to say never. You never put a possum on your head.
I thought you were about to say never say never.
Yeah, no, we're going to do a show, and let's people throw in up some suggestions about possums that they know that people are wearing. They've got to be well known. They've got to be people that we know.
Yes.
Because then it's no fun. You got to talk about. I love talking about possums.
Some poor fellas are going to be thrown under the bus there. Now, speaking of appearance, I'm just looking. I feel like I'm sitting across from Raphael Nadal at the moment. We've got a bloke who's got his right arm is nicely toned.
It's not.
And then I look at this little left arm. It's like somebody else's arm.
I'm actually a fat, skinny guy at the moment. I've got look at this. Look at this arm.
So you're out of a sling?
Out of a sling. First time today. Took it out this morning. And we'll leave it out now. It's meant to come out Wednesday, but typical, I thought a couple of days early is not going to hurt it. So start physio and everything this week. Was in Perth on the weekend and wanted to take it out there, but, got through because when you're around a lot of people, first thing people do, and it's still a bit tender, like big cuddles or hits on the back, sort of still shake it a little bit. So that's why, the sling actually still protects. So if I'm going into a big crowd, I'll probably still put it on just so you don't get the back slaps. But I'm feeling good, mates. I'm like I said, I was in Perth on the weekend, caught up with some old teammates.
They let you back into WA, did they?
And can you believe? Guess where I stayed?
Oh, you didn't?
I did.
The Crowne?
Crowne. With an E. Crowne Plaza.
So not Crowne.
No, I didn't venture to Crowne, but had a ripping. Caught up with Glen Jakovich.
Yes,
caught up with him.
Great podcast did earlier in the year with Jacko. For anyone who hasn't heard it,
yep, he was in good form, and my old teammate Anthony Rock caught up with him and some good mates. Jono went and watched some kids' footy. Had a magnificent function. 400 corporates, brilliantly run. Perth was 26.
Oh, beautiful.
Just an amazing day on Friday and then 27, 28 on Saturday. So fair to say it was a bit dusty flying back yesterday. When it's that type of weather,
It's hard not to.
You can't. And someone had actually said to me recently, they said, "Geez, you've been quiet the last 6 weeks. You've been really, really good."
You made up for it?
I said, I did have an operation. I was in a sling. Let's judge it off once we get to spring, then give us an evaluation. But I had an absolute ball over there. It was very well run, and caught up with some mates. So it was good, very good.
Isn't it funny how often I feel like you end up being hungover on the plane? Not you personally. I feel like whenever I guess because whenever you go somewhere, you end up going out with mates and then the next day, it's pain, isn't it?
Well,
you don't get big hangovers, though.
No, I don't. It's not ideal, though, on a plane. No. The good thing about it is that you can sleep. I can sleep on a plane. I'm asleep before it even takes off.
Absolutely. I'm the same. Sleep for Australia. Now, your weekend could have been better, I'm hearing. The little birdie told me.
Look, since I'm out of the media, I'm obviously allowed to bet on football. And not that I do bet a lot on football, but I don't mind a little multi, and gamble responsibly. By the way, not that I have to say that anymore, but yes, we should gamble responsibly. But having these little multis where you have 10 or 15 legs, I tell you what you can do. You can really start to dislike players when they let you down.
Well, that's where it gets dangerous.
So I've had, and by the way, not that I dislike these particular players, but I had one earlier in the year. I had about 20 legs. And the only leg that I didn't get up is I needed Bailey Smith to kick a goal. He had 27 disposals, didn't kick a goal, right? So, and I was a bit disappointed in Bailey.
So he's been banned? Bailey's been banned?
No, for a couple of weeks I was disappointed, but I do love him.
Yep.
And then on the weekend, you're not going to believe it. So yesterday, I'm sitting there, got back from Perth, sitting around mate's house and watching the game. And I said to him, why don't we just have a little multi on this game? So I thought GWS 1 to 39. So I had all of this. The only thing I needed, the only leg I didn't get up, I needed Big Harry.
Oh, no.
I needed Big Harry to kick one goal in the first half.
What are you doing in
He's the full forward.
You've been talking him down for weeks. You know why he didn't kick it? Because you said he should be playing VFL.
He's the full forward. He's the full forward. I thought surely he'll kick a goal. He's one game back last week. He got a Joe the Goose off Charlie, ran into an open goal. I thought surely he'll get one of those. There's going to be a Joe the Goose somewhere, or he'll take a big pack mark. He'll be back. He went into the ruck. He was up the ground. He's on centre wing. I'm saying, push down, work.
There was a different role, wasn't it?
But you start yelling at the screen and getting very frustrated. You know what? He'll come out in the first final and kick 6 or something.
In the first half.
Yeah, in the first half. So anyway, that was the only leg that I didn't get up.
Funny you bring that up. A few of my mates and I, we have a group. We're all new fathers. I don't know if I should say this, but we call ourselves the DILFs. So anyway, we had
far from it. Are they similar to yourself or?
No, they're better looking blokes than me.
Oh no, you're a good looking bloke side on.
With a hat on. Anyway, similar. This is how they get you though. This is how the betting agencies get you, because you put your extra legs in, you think I'll just get that extra little bit of value. And so we have a few sort of rules that we go by, that we each multi, shouldn't have this or can't have that. And we say we generally leave out the result because it can ruin a multi and games can swing.
Leave out the result.
But
when it's evenly matched like yesterday, that's actually quite a good price.
You can get value.
$2.
We like to focus more on disposals and goals, because then the result doesn't matter and you can enjoy your multi either way. Well, anyway, one of our team members broke that golden rule and included Gold Coast defeating North Melbourne. And he's a North Melbourne supporter.
Silly bet.
And so he cost himself dearly with that. You probably don't think they're going to win their first in 20 games.
You've gone from Gold Coast down to Tassie. I thought they were a big chance, North.
Well, it's interesting. Alistair Clarkson almost echoed your sentiment. We spoke about, it was last week or the week before, the number one pick versus the wooden spoon debate. And you said, I would prefer not to win a third straight wooden spoon. I'd rather, I don't care about the number one pick.
No, exactly right. And well done to North Melbourne. Well done. And so they played it through to the end. Well done to Hawthorn the week before. I mean, it just goes to show you that all this rhubarb and all this beat up about teams, not wanting to win and going for picks, and that has been thrown completely out the window. Don't you think?
Yeah, absolutely.
So great, fantastic result. Oh, the other one, just on the one more on the
another hard luck story.
No, so I had Adam Sard to have 20 plus disposals, right? And in the first, I don't know whether you watched the game.
He was
closely.
going terribly.
He got injured.
Yeah, he did.
He went off.
Yeah.
And I went just go, oh no, like strap it up. Give him these are things that you say to yourself.
Yeah.
I mean, it's anyway, it's a bit of fun.
It's a bit of fun
That's
for
more
us,
about
and I guess this is where betting has become a problem in some ways because players are getting messages from people. You stuffed up my multi. You're not doing any of that. I hope you're not. You haven't.
No.
You haven't texted Harry or.
I've got message Vossi today. So stop playing Harry in the ruck.
I noticed just before we get into a deeper dive on the footy, that the Footy Show is having a reunion or has had a reunion. You're pretty involved in the Footy Show, weren't you, back in the day?
So 94, I think it started. I was one of the original members, but I didn't do it for too long. I got poached by Channel 7. Remember, then they come out.
I wasn't very old back then. You're a bit older than me.
They came out with that Rip Snorter show that
Oh, yeah. What was it?
everyone jumped ship and
So that was Dunstall and Hurdy and you. Was that one? Or
Dougie, I think, left too, didn't he?
did he?
Did
Okay.
Dougie leave at one stage to go to Channel 7? I think he might have, but it didn't go too well. And I was never on that show either. I was just paid to go to Channel 7 to leave Channel 9.
What was the Footy Show like back in the day? Did you know what was going to happen before? Because there was some pretty wild skits back in the day. Did you know what was going to happen, or did you go in there with a bit of trepidation?
Well, you're just starting out your media career, and you're there with the likes of Eddie Maguire, Sam Newman, and Trevor Marmalade, who I think Eddie was unbelievably good, and that was the launch of really his career. Even though he'd been in the media for a long time, that's what elevated him to a whole new level. Sam Newman, I think, was the man that, I think whether you agreed or didn't agree, he made that show. And Trev, behind the bar. And who would have thought? Now there's a show with three people behind the bar talking about front bar. Those three guys.
Do you get on well with Sam?
The players. I do, actually. He's just had a shoulder replacement as well.
Okay.
The exact same operation, the exact same surgeon, and the exact same strapping.
Well, there you go.
Who would have thought? So yes, they have, and actually, so I'll sit down and watch that if Trev and Sam are on it.
Yeah, should be
But
good.
If they're not on it, I probably wouldn't watch it.
So that you didn't go down there and participate in the reunion.
I wouldn't have thought so.
Now it was a big week for talking about forwards and yourself. Big week for the forwards. It was. We spoke about Taylor Walker and his chance to kick a big bag in the final round and maybe overtake Charlie. It was entertaining in a way. I mean, they were looking for Tex a bit, weren't they?
He had a stack of shots on goal.
Yeah.
Kicked 9 in the end, but
Could have even more.
Yeah, he could have had more. So Charlie's only got him by 1 in the end. How funny is it that both kicked 19-6 against West Coast? So the two games they both played, the exact same figure, 19-6. And you do know if you reverse, so if you took away teams that played twice against North and West Coast, the Coleman medal, guess it would be on top of it. Well, because Larky can't play against himself, Larky would be on top if you took away those goals.
Your man, Nick Larky from North.
He's had a pretty good year, hasn't he?
Well, we had a chat off air a few weeks ago and did a bit of a mock All-Australian team.
Everyone's jumping on the bandwagon now saying, Toby Green should be the All-Australian captain. Well, yeah, we'd already said that.
Yes, you did. I saw
everyone
that.
was saying Bont, and now everyone's jumped ship.
I'm still with the Bont. So maybe I'm in the minority now. But we didn't have Nick Larky, either of us, in our teams. We had Charlie and Tex. Would you have Nick Larky?
Can't have 3 tools.
Okay.
Can't have 3 tools.
So he's still behind Tex and Charlie?
Well, like I said, given the team that he played in and opportunities, he's arguably had the best year as a forward. Does he go in? I think he would have had less assists and less of the ball than those other two. He's a guy that gets, he's kicked 9. I don't know how many possessions he had, but I would imagine it wouldn't be 20. Larky, that is, I'm talking about. And by the way, I don't even know. I didn't watch that game. It wasn't one that I was going to tune into. But he's had an unbelievable year. But I think the other two are automatic All-Australians for me.
Yeah, I still agree. I saw a stat, and I don't have it in front of me, but Larkey has been the focus of his team's attacks much more because
Correct.
he's in a poorer side. I mean,
gets double teamed in that as well.
Yeah.
And just back to the Toby Green Bontempelli argument. So Green has led his team into the finals.
Yeah,
that's what just tips him over for the captain.
Yeah, and that's a fair call. That's a huge result for GWS. You've said previously that you think Ross Lyon is the coach of the year. Well, I think it's Adam Kingsley. So they've gone from 16th last year. They've traded out Taranto and Hopper, and they've still got great depth in their midfield. But you would have thought maybe that it was going to be hard for GWS to bounce as quickly as they have.
Got a lot of feedback on that about coach of the year and me saying Ross Lyon.
You're back on Twitter. I saw you.
So a lot of people say Kingsley. A lot of people are saying Vossi.
Yep.
Thing about Vossi, I think they were expected to play finals for me.
Agree.
With their list and everything else. So they're only doing, and they've finished probably where we thought around they'd finish. So great job by Vossi, but I don't think they've exceeded expectations. So that's why I don't have Vossi in it.
Yep.
Albeit they were just about cooked. So to turn it around, that's a great effort. So well done from that point. But I agree. I think Kingsley, a lot of people are saying Hinkley. Well, guess what? I think, they had a bad year last year, but I think they had the list to play finals this year. So that's why I didn't have Hinkley. McRae, a lot of people thought that they would. So it's all, for me, it was all on expectation. So I agree. The two that it probably does come down to would be Ross and Kingsley. But Ross, St Kilda have been in the 8 from round 1 to the very end. Unbelievable for a squad with injuries and everything else. And that's why I still think Ross. So thanks for the feedback, everyone, but I disagree.
You did get some strong feedback, I saw. It was an interesting final game of the season. The Giants were well clear of Carlton for most of the last quarter. What was more interesting was whether they finished ahead of St Kilda and therefore got a home final. I listened to Toby Green after the game and he said, were you aware? And he's like, no, who do we play? Where do we play him? He didn't know. And the Giants really dropped off in the last 10 minutes. I would have thought a message would have been going out, boys, we need this extra goal. We cannot stop. Now, how aware are players, or should they be in that situation?
Well, players wouldn't be aware of it, but certainly you would think one of the coaches would be, and to get a message out to your leaders on the ground and say, hey, we kick another 2 goals, we're playing a home final. The game's over, so you're going to win the game, but, to get that extra goal, and it literally was 1 goal. It was 0.3 the difference.
Yeah.
So that 1 goal would have put it, I think, level. And then another point or so, then all of a sudden you're playing at home rather than away. So you're spot on. Yeah, I would have definitely made it aware. But whether the coaches are that caught up in, what they're doing, but you'd think someone got that many Poindexters there on computers trying to justify their job, taking, stats on, how many pieces of grass are out in the ground and everything else. Someone should know. And it's not a matter of letting the whole team know. It's just letting some key people know, and then your leaders on the ground letting people know, because it's not a matter of winning the game.
So the home and away season is done. Our finalists, the finals are Collingwood, Melbourne, Brisbane v Port, Carlton play Sydney, and St Kilda play GWS. It does mean there are 10 teams who are now done. Interested in who your biggest underachievers for the year are. At one stage you had it as Carlton. I think it was after Essendon beat them about 8 or 9 weeks ago, and since then the two teams have just gone in different directions. So who have you been most disappointed in, do you think?
Most disappointed, I think it's a toss-up between Freo, Cats, Dogs. I think at the start of the year, I think the majority of people would have had all 3 of those teams in their finals.
Yep.
Yeah, would you agree?
Yeah, that's fair. Yep.
All 3, and they've all missed out.
Geelong maybe some excuses with injury and have come off a premiership. So
yeah, but they're the 3 that you've.
So Essendon and Adelaide, you're okay with.
Well, I didn't have them in the 8, but I think Adelaide will be the most disappointed. I think they're the best form team outside the 8. Yeah, no question. I think they had a great year. They should be very proud of the year. Obviously, we know should be playing finals.
Yeah, they would have been in if not for the.
Well, they've actually got. There was 2 games where they've been robbed, really. So for me,
are you referring to the Collingwood? Is the Collingwood game the other one?
I think that was a free kick.
Oh yes, yep.
That should have been paid. But Anyway, you're not going to go back on that. But they're the ones that.
So do you think they have maybe the most scope for improvement out of those?
Well, you don't guarantee just because you have a year like they've had this year, Adelaide. I'm not automatically saying they're playing finals next year. I mean, Tex Walker's had his best year ever at his age. I don't think Tex, as good as Tex has been, can he reproduce that next year? I'm going to say, with all due respect, probably not. Not. So who do they find that can reproduce that for them? And Tex is obviously going to re-sign again, but even if Tex does deliver 50 goals or whatever and then a few step up. So they're not guaranteed next year for me. So just once again, because you've had that year, look at Freo, finals last year, everyone's saying, they'll be top 4 this year, and they've dropped off. So that's what can happen. So they've got to put in the hard work and understand that they've got to improve. And if they do improve and have their best players get somewhere near their best, like we've seen this year with other teams, and they're certainly capable.
Is an interesting proposition, Tex, isn't he? I mean, they've got Darcy Fogarty, but what Tex maybe provides that some others don't is his field kicking's very good too, isn't it?
He's unbelievable. He's unbelievable left, right, doesn't miss, beautiful kick at goal. But he's marking the footy now. I think it's a great indication too of the dilution of our competition. Anyone that says our comp is as strong as it's ever been and the game's this and that, and the game is great, and we've had a great year, we've had a fantastic year, but when you've got a bloke that is past his best age-wise and he has his best ever year, then you've got guys like Hawkins who have done the same thing for 3 years and everything else. And I'm suggesting that the game, I don't think there's a lot of great defenders in our game. There's a few. The game is diluted. Collingwood's number one forward is a guy by the name of Myercheck, who's 6'1". You've just got the game is a very different game, and we've had 3 forwards. We've had Toby Green who've kicked over 50 as a small forward, and I think Charlie Cameron just over 50 as well.
He's got over 50 now.
Yeah, so it's been a great year for goal kickers.
We got in a pretty animated discussion about this a little while ago because it came off the Buddy Franklin theory, so to speak, that this person
Poindexter.
Well, you're being a bit harsh on this person. Insight Lane then was their name. Interestingly, they did actually respond to the Truth Hurts in recent weeks.
What did he say?
So said a few things about. So this was era-adjusted goals.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
But do they take chopping in the
I know
arm,
you know.
punched in the back of the head?
I'm explaining it to the listeners in case they weren't listening to the other episode.
Okay, go then.
So his the way he'd written it up was Lance Franklin. If you adjusted it because there are less goals scored by the forwards in this era, he would have kicked more goals than Tony Lockett and so on. He did make some comments in response. His suggestion was, well, why were there more average footballers in the 90s kicking bigger bags? So he's used his example, and he referenced Tex Walker. This was a fortnight ago. Tex Walker and Tom Hawkins are playing their best ever footy. Yet, have you ever considered why they never kicked more goals in a season than Danny Del Rey, Simon Minton-Connell, or Jason Heatley? Or are you just saying those players' peaks were greater? So his suggestion is, it was.
Geez, that's a bit of a slap to those.
It is. That's one part of a one part of a 6-part answer. Buddy Franklin has been the main focus for the teams he's played in. However, he's only kicked 22% of his team's goals, which is low. Lockett kicked 34%, Coventry 33%, Hudson 39%, Coleman 42%.
So he's basing it off. So Poindexter's basing it off those easy stats. What he doesn't take into account, once again, is the whole team was trying to stop Tony Lockett. That was our whole focus. The whole team was trying to stop Dunstall. Whole team was trying to stop Ablett Senior. Yet they still did that. No one was trying to stop Danny Del Rey or the other players that he mentioned, which is probably why they got off the chain and had really good years. And by the way, they were handy players. I would argue all of those players are every bit as good or better than Myercheck, who's playing now for Collingwood. So don't be too.
No, he wasn't referring to Mike. It was.
So didn't take into account that the ruckman stood in front of Tony Lockett every week. Didn't take into account when we played. So we had Corey McKernan or Matthew Capuano or Alex Ashenko standing in front of Lockett. We had Glen Archer and formerly known as Dean Laidley standing on the inside of their opponents. We had Ross Smith also doing the same thing. all to stop Tony Lockett, and he'd still kick 10. And he had an opponent that played right on him rather than on a 20-foot leg rope like they play now. So anyway, case solved.
So the question I've got for you is then, because I've my argument before was I think the way the game is played has changed, and forwards press up the ground. They're not stay at home. There's less opportunity for these guys to kick goals in the way the game is played now. Charlie and Tex, as you mentioned, have kicked 19 goals against West Coast. That's probably unlikely to happen, that these guys will kick 20 goals in a season against a particular side, yet they've only ended up on 78 and 76 goals respectively.
That's a big number. I reckon John O'Brien, he won the Coleman back.
I know, that's what I'm saying. That's a big number in recent context. So what I'm saying is I don't think anyone's going to kick 100 goals in a season.
Yeah, I disagree. I just don't think we've had good enough forwards to do it.
So you think someone will come along in the next 40, 50 years?
If we have a good enough player, yeah.
Yeah, okay. What? But it happened very regularly in
Yeah, because we just happened to go through an era where we had absolute champions. And that can happen. If you go back through the history of the game, we had other eras where there were great forwards, and then we've had eras where there was a little bit of a flat spot for forwards. Now all of a sudden we're going through an era where there's more focus on the small forwards, which I think they're more of a target than back in the day, because you went for the big target and the smaller forwards were there to crumb but not necessarily be a target going inside. That element has 100% changed for the better, because that takes the pressure, believe it or not, off the big forward, because you can't then triple team because they're using the other option. But he didn't take that into account either.
Well, when we're doing the Truth Hurts in 30 years' time and no one's kicked 100 goals,
I'm not sure I'll be here. I've only got 10 good summers left of me.
Just delving into some other areas, football related still. I noticed there's some murmurs that KISS might be doing the AFL Grand Final after Crowded House pulled out. You a fan of KISS or?
Well, until Brendon before the show today, started singing a couple of the songs. I'd forgotten what they sang, but I think if they played a few of their best hits, I think the MCG would be rocking. You're not a fan?
Oh, it's not really my vintage, to be honest.
Oh, fair enough.
A minute ago you said I don't know their songs.
Who's your vintage? Justin Bieber?
No, Bieber's not my style.
Tay-Tay, I do like Tay-Tay, but I do like Biebs as
well.
You're
You're unbelievable. A minute ago, who's KISS? What do they play? And now you're saying they're going to have the G Rocky.
No, but I think because the songs they sing, now that Brendon sort of sang a couple of them, I sort of know which songs they are. And if they start pumping that, I think the whole G will rock.
Mm. Yeah.
Do they sing the one, We Will? No,
that's Queen. Yeah, music maybe not your strong point. On a more serious note, I didn't watch all of it. I saw some of it. The Four Corners report last week it was investigating why no AFL players had come out as no AFL men's players had come out as gay. And so we had, I think last year was an A-League player who he was the first first playing professional footballer in Australia to do so at the time. We haven't in the AFL. There was a whole lot of commentary that came on from this episode. So it referenced an article that Jason Ackermanis wrote where he suggested players the headline was stay in the closet. Gillan McLaughlin had said he can understand why players wouldn't want
Why do they have to?
That's been a discussion. Gills was more he could understand why they wouldn't want the burden of being the first, because there would be, a circus that would follow them and commentary that would follow them that really? Perhaps would be.
I don't think anyone would. I don't think if there was commentary around it, then that would be that would be discrimination. There shouldn't be commentary around it. It's just
I guess cares? from the average. Who cares?
We have had a former player who formerly known as Dean is now Dani Laidley, of which, by the way, so back in the 90s, as captain of that footy club, I knew that Dean at the time was, I guess, at the time considered living a different lifestyle to what, others were. It was never an issue. We never brought it up with him, never spoke to him about it, didn't care. When Dean came onto that ground and when he played, He was unbelievably courageous, fantastic footballer. So what he did off the ground was no one else's business, and it was never discussed. I don't know how many other players knew.
You get on well with her as Danielle now, don't you?
Yeah. No, we've caught up, and she's agreed that she'll come and have a chat with us. Her new documentary's just come out, by the way. I think it's on Stan. So I'll be tuning into that. What I will say is, so when they talk about no one's, you've got someone that's dealt with something that's been, they've hidden, and the burden of hiding that for their, the majority of their life, and then, clearly gone through some troubles, and then, to be able to do that and now feel the way she does, it's an unbelievable story. But I just don't see the big deal about it. I mean, as we know, the AFL women, it's commonly known. We know that the Matildas are commonly known. I mean, who cares? I don't understand why it would be a big deal. I don't think there would be a lot of fanfare around it or commentary around it, because I think if there was, then that would be the wrong way to go.
When I say the circus or commentary around it, I maybe mean from punters who are less understanding.
I think the whole world's more understanding.
And I would hope so, certainly. But I mean, we still see with a lot of the Indigenous players some of the stuff they cop on social media.
And look, there's still dingbats out there.
So you in terms of as a teammate though, you feel that comfortably it would be a non-issue.
Non-issue at all. Non-issue at all. And we there are some examples of that. We know Roberts in rugby league many years ago came out, tough, hard guy, didn't affect his teammates or people that he played against. By the way, that's he did come out with a book. I do remember reading part of it, so I don't know how difficult it actually was, but that was a long time ago. I think there's been an NFL player that has done it. I think there was an NFL player that came out actually before he was drafted and actually went a little bit later, so they thought that was a little bit of discrimination and things. So I don't think it'd be an issue here. And and there's always rumours, a lot of innuendo. There was rumour going around, that I was gay at one point. So I had to put that to bed. No, I'm serious. There was. There's rumours about everyone, or not everyone, but there's a lot of players that have been rumoured to be gay and have turned out not to be gay. Which is another example why you shouldn't listen to rumours. Absolutely. But who cares?
Now we're going to go on to some of our listed comments. One of my favourite parts of the week. We had a fair few strong opinions last week, so a bit of a response to some. Duck, I agree. Keep Bevo. People forget the doggy struggled for a very long time before him. At least they have the team in contention to make finals every year. And with North, let's not forget the Pies went from 17th to a prelim. Anything can happen. That's from Meow Kabar. I'm not sure North are going to do what Collingwood did. Don't think they have the top-end talent. But
no, I'd agree.
But with Bevo, it seems like the Dogs are going to restructure around him. So you're backing that as the right call from the Bulldogs?
Yeah, I'm a fan of Bevo. I know some people aren't for whatever reason. It just he seems to be the coach at the moment that everyone's riding and isn't it funny, since we discussed the so-called talent and he made those comments, when you actually look at a lot of their team and a lot of their very good players, they haven't played to their optimum level or got close to their optimum level. There's probably three. English, Bontempelli and Libba have all had, I think, level to their best. English has had his career best. Libba's been unbelievably good again, and so has Bont. But then they've got other superstars that haven't quite reached a level that they've reached before. And that's why they've missed out on the finals.
This is from Shane. Another informative and entertaining episode, Wayne. Love it. Or what about me, Shane? Anyway, even my Doberman Moose listens. Well, he pretends to. Totally agree, R.E. Manners, and really resonated with your comments, R.E. the wooden spoon be the number one pick. As a blue bagger, there's been plenty of recent history in this regard, and I was never pleased with cheering losing, ensuring a prime draft pick.
Oh, good.
This is where you elaborate on.
He basically agreed with me, so he's a very good judge.
This is from Leo. Just a question about a past North player. Does Eddie Ford have some similarities to a John McCarthy, I remember him being a good third tall to yourself and Longmire. Could Eddie be a consistent third option? Just need Charlie Comben to help Larky in 24.
Similarities, both 2 arms and 2 legs.
Oh, so what, you don't think it's a good...
John McCarthy was a high-flying, big pack mark. He could pack mark and sit on guys' heads. I haven't seen Ford do that, but let's hope. If he gets somewhere near, he had a lot of ability, John McCarthy. Very good footballer.
I don't profess to know a whole lot about John McCarthy. So he played with you early 90s. Would that be right?
Yeah, early 90s. Yeah.
Yep. So I think Eddie Ford's got some talent.
Yeah, that's what I mean. If he gets somewhere near John McCarthy, he'll be very handy.
This is from Grumpy Old Fool. Anton loves a question without notice. Yes, it's probably fair. I don't like to throw the duck under the bus. From Charcoal Chicken, question for you both. Do you think the season runs too long? 24 rounds of regular season matches seems like a lot. So, of course, we've added with Gather Round this year. What do you think?
Yeah, I didn't mind it, mainly because I didn't have to go to that many games and work in it this year. I think if you're working in it, you would have been not necessarily happy. But I didn't feel it at all. The players may feel it.
This is from Sammy. Duck, how do you spend Grand Final day? And I think it's a great question because I've just started. Normally I work Grand Final day and I'm not this year. I've started planning about what I might be able to do, but you've got to get in a bit in advance, do you now?
Yeah, so I think I've got a breakfast and then a little bit of a brunch on, and then I'll be sitting around and sit back and enjoy a little bit of the amber fluid and have a really good day. Hopefully it's a nice day. And this is the other reason why, by the way, I'm a little bit against night grand final, because you start at lunchtime and you'd miss the whole second half if it was a night grand final.
you wouldn't remember.
It's tradition for. I don't remember it when it's a day. I won't remember it this year when it's a day game, let alone a night game. So you start early and
How good's grand final when you just wake up and you just...
If it's a night, especially if it's, you wake up and the sun's out and the birds are chirping and, people are out there mowing their lawn a little bit early. You can smell the clippings off the lawn. I mean, it's just a great day. You can smell the barbecues sizzling. You'd have sausages. Some others would have steak. Just before we go, we didn't mention Weitering and what might happen
with Toby Green.
Yes. I don't think he's got a case to answer. I think he had his whole hand over his face and he was just pulling him away. I don't think he was
Did you see what Toby said after the game? He said, he might be in a bit of trouble. I would have got in trouble for that. Oh, I did get in trouble for that.
If Toby puts beer in the wrong esky, he gets in trouble. So he would have been in a lot of trouble. But no, Weitering, I don't think he was trying to actually get. He's pulling him off, trying to pull him off, do the right thing by a teammate. I don't think he was trying to stick his fingers. That came out wrong. You know what I mean?
I'm just shaking my head.
You know what? That's terrible, but pulling him off the player. Yes. Right? And so I don't think he was trying to gouge or anything like that. So I think he'll be absolutely fine and he'll be playing in the finals. And if he's not, well, just who knows with what goes on.
Even more so with the final coming up, you think they'd find a way for him not to be.
Yep.
Especially
but Toby is right. If he was in that situation, everyone would be, oh.
Now, of course, we always encourage our listeners to tune into The Truth Hurts on YouTube, Spotify, Apple, and so on. There is another podcast floating around at the moment that I could highly recommend. It's called Talk Hard. It's from a bloke on the northwest coast of Tassie, and I've just chucked this in there. His latest guest is a very, very special guest. It might. If you've got a spare half an hour, maybe just have a listen. You might.
It's not you, is it? You're kidding me. So since when have you become? So you're the guest on his show.
Yeah.
Oh, that's good.
Brendon, his name is, does a very good job.
Okay.
So if you want to have a listen and maybe take a few pointers on life and
listen. So is he
progressing professionally.
So what's he going to talk to you about?
Oh,
growing up in Tassie.
My footy career.
Very good. You know what? So we've got a week off. Not of The Truth Hurts, of course, but we've got a week off to build in. Given everyone talks about this week off, and it's a week off, but given that we play a Thursday night final, it's not really 2 weeks. So before you know it, it'll be It'll be Thursday week, and we'll have that first final, and we'll obviously talk about more. We'll talk about leading into those finals next Monday, which is going to be. I think it's going to be a fascinating final series. I think there's a bit to play out.
Sounds like a good plan. I am interested in your thoughts for those games. That first final is the Thursday night, is Collingwood up against Melbourne. So a huge game. We'll delve deeper into that next week. Thanks again for listening. I'll see you soon, Duck.
See ya.
You can either take the red pill, you'll wake up, everything was a dream, or you can take the black pill, you can get torched.
Well, I suppose getting torched won't hurt that much. I don't feel anything.
Wait for it.
Oh, wait. I just got a new client.
Get torched! Get torched! Get torched!